All right, this is the Democratic Socialist Libertarian. I am here with scholar, activist, professor of economics, Richard Wolff. Hello, Professor. How are you?
Okay, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. So, Amazon has recently announced they are moving to New York City. How should we who live in New York City react to this news? I mean, to hear them tell it, this is a great thing.
Yeah, well, you should believe that the same way you believe all the other advertising junk that large companies put out. It's there to get money out of your wallet, and the rest of it is secondary. This is an attempt, these stories that Amazon is telling and that are unfortunately repeated by the politicians they have purchased, are all about the wonderful things that will happen if the city gives them the city here and the one in Virginia together give them $5.5 billion subsidy. If you got $5.5 billion from the city, you say whatever was necessary to make sure that the check didn't bounce. Also, what they don't tell you are the costs. If the city gives $5.5 billion together with the city in Virginia to Amazon, that's money that's not available to educate our children, to take care of our hospitals, to pave our roads, and they don't want to talk to you about that. They want to act as if only good news happens here. Company comes, jobs are created, taxes are paid. Oh, it's all wonderful. They leave out. It's advertising. It's like when they advertise a bar of soap. Do they tell you it gives you a rash? No. They tell you it makes you smell good. They tell you the good news in hopes you'll spend money. And Amazon and the politicians with them told us the good news, so they hope we will spend our taxes to give it to them. This project is a $10.5 billion project, and they want $5.5 billion from the public. So we pay the cost of the investment of these headquarters. They will keep all the profits from this business. Our job as peons in society is to pay the cost. They will do us the favor of gathering the profits from this investment into their own hands. It is private property and profit for the rich and the few, and pay the cost for the rest of us. It's disgusting, and it is a shame on America that it can happen.
Sounds like corporate welfare to me.
Yeah, it is a kind of corporate welfare. It's a big fat subsidy, and it ought to be called a big fat subsidy. There should have been a headline today: the state and city of New York, together with the state of Virginia and the city, I forget the name in Virginia, that's
Crystal City.
Crystal City. Today, these entities gave huge subsidies to one of the richest companies in the world that doesn't need it. I like to remind people that the $5.5 billion is going to be a real hole in the state budgets and the city budgets of these places. Mr. Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, has a personal wealth of $160 billion. If he had taken the $5.5 billion that are being subsidized and had subsidized Amazon out of his own pocket rather than the city, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people would not have been faced with rising taxes or reduced social services. And he, having had his wealth reduced from 160 billion to 155, would still be the richest person on the face of the earth. That is disgusting. That's not a bad thing. That goes way beyond the word bad or the word cheap or the word corporate welfare. It's a disgusting abuse of what an economy should do. It should serve the people. We have it all upside down. The people here serve the corporations more and more, and there is no excuse for it.
Indeed. The price of oil has been going down. How should we interpret that?
Well, I think, as I said, it's mostly a response to two major factors. The supply of oil going up, mostly because of the fracking boom in the United States. As usual, the capitalists who can make a lot of money do not care about the ecological costs and consequences. Another example of, isn't it wonderful we have more oil, and without asking at what price, with what social consequences, with what ecological consequences, and all of that. Instead of all of that, we just talk about one side of it, like an advertiser does when pushing his product. So we have more oil in the world because of the fracking. And at the same time, because of the troubles between the United States and China, the slowing down of economies around the world, now including the United States, the demand is off. And people are realizing we have more oil than before and less demand for it than before. Whenever you have that situation, prices start to go down, and that's what we've been seeing.
And does the decline in oil, does that forebode a downturn in the economic situation?
Well, for the last 2.5 weeks, every day that the stock market has gone down, and those have been most of the days, there have been lots of commentary making exactly that point. That the reason the stock market more broadly is in trouble is that a lot of people are seeing what's happening to oil as a harbinger, as a foretaste of what's coming. That oil is going down because of the assumption that economic activity is shrinking. And if that happens, it's bad news for stocks across the board. And so cautious investors are selling, and down go the prices.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, thank you so much, Professor Wolff, for your words of wisdom. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
I'm glad to do it, and I'm glad that you're doing this kind of work and getting these ideas out.
Okay, have a great night.